Have you felt the silent but very visceral declaration of war on your garden by the coalition of four-legged creatures of chaos? In more recent years, I've noticed the local squirrel population and their intrusion level has increased a lot, and my garden space has endured the insufferable guerrilla warfare of the four-legged coalition. I suppose in suburban environments, there aren't really many or any natural predators of the squirrel, so their reign goes largely unchallenged. The same seems to hold true for raccoons, who seem to have taken up residence in the area and made my backyard part of their nightly raids. And maybe you've heard all this before, but if not, let me reiterate. Pungent pepper powders sprinkled around your crops, spreading dog hair around the garden to mimic the scent of an active canine sentinel, plastic owl figurines with bobbing heads, ultrasonic pest repellers. None of these deter squirrels or raccoons with any efficacy. These scavengers are too smart, extremely persistent, and when they've moved into an area, there they stay until death makes them part. Short of standing outside all day with a pellet gun on the ready to cap a few rodent skulls, which isn't something I'm inclined to do, I needed a long-term solution. You may have come across designs like this that feature hoops to create a frame over the entire perimeter of a garden bed, usually made with PVC or metal pipes, which prop up some kind of mesh cover to prevent animal intruders from walking into the growing space. These are great because they can also be used for season extension by covering them with plastic. But you need to be sure that whatever mesh you use is adequately secured at the base so that animals don't just crawl under it. Another alternative in this fashion are wooden A-frames, which arguably take more work to create due to needing accurate cuts and assembly of several and costly wooden boards. They can be designed simply to be lifted and set aside when needing to access the garden bed, or built with openings secured by door hinges. While both designs are fantastic options, they have one setback which made me opt for a simpler solution. They have a height limitation that prevents growing tall crops inside these frames, such as indeterminate tomatoes, goldenberries, pole beans, and so on. My main issue is squirrels or raccoons digging up the garden beds and uprooting plants, so I just need to prevent them from having access to the soil. That's where these mesh covers come in as my chosen pest deterrent. They're cheaper to build than hoops or A-frames, and don't restrict my access to the plants at all. I've made a few of these covers already with great success, and I'm going to build another one for a raised bed that's still susceptible to squirrel shenanigans. While there are various metal mesh options available, the cheapest to work with is rust-resistant poultry netting, which still maintains long durability. The netting is securely held in place with a repeating series of stainless steel staples, and I suggest you use the 1/2 inch length. You can see the beautiful simplicity here, and that seedlings can go right through the holes while animals can't access the soil at all. Alright, now let's go and assemble one of these barriers.
So all you need to do for your garden bed is just take a measurement of the length and the width of all the sides of your garden bed, and then you're going to do the same thing and measure those same distances for your 2x2 pieces of wood. Once you have those measured out, you need to use something like a saw or a hand saw and cut them to size. And then you'll use about a 2.5 length structural screw or wood screw, something that can be used on pressure treated wood. And you're going to measure out the center of that connecting piece to this side here. Pre-drill a hole that's just slightly smaller than the size of the screw in order to attach the two pieces together. And you'll want to do this across all four corners on a leveled surface so that you get a level base. Once that's complete, You can then use corner braces like these guys here, and you just put these on the outer edge, and then you screw them down. Again, pre-drill with a drill bit that's just smaller than the screw itself. Now, this is serving two purposes. Number one, it's further securing the connectivity between all pieces of wood so that they don't shimmy out of place. And secondly, it's also going to act as an anchor to the garden bed. Let me show you what I mean. For securing the garden bed, you'll notice that I also have these corner braces connecting them to the corner of the bed. These ones are on the inner edge, but the covering that I'm creating, they're on the outer edge. So what's going to happen is when I overlap that covering on here, they're actually kind of going to interlock like this, meaning that they're not going to dance around at all, and they will actually fit in quite snugly. Alright, so the next step is to add on the galvanized chicken wire, as you can see here. Now this stuff comes in rolls. It's good to have the help of somebody to help you unroll it so you can just lay it over top of your frame. And as you do so, you're going to use a staple gun with stainless steel staples. And you're just going to staple along each edge as you go so that it captures an end of the galvanized wire. And do this on both sides, stretching it out as you go so that you get a nice strong flat top. Now in my case, I'm actually joining two pieces because I didn't have enough of a whole roll, which you probably will when you do this. But if you are reusing old pieces that you have laying around, you will have to join them at some point, which is what I've done here. I'll take you for a closer look. So here you can see that there's overlap between the two ends, and then each individual one has to basically be looped over to cross over another wire and use a set of pliers to do this to make the work as easy as possible. And this will still take a little bit of effort and time to do, but if it's what you got to work with, then that's what you got to do. And when you get to the end, you'll just make sure that you also have this stretched out. Obviously, you already have this stapled in, but you will want to stretch this out accordingly as you go so that you have, again, a nice, strong, even top. So I'll just show you here that what I'm using is the corrosion resistance T50 staples. These are 3/8 of an inch or 10 millimeters. And another really important point is all the places where you stapled, there will always be a little bit of a gap between the staple and the wire and the wood. So you want to use a hammer, nail that down to make sure that there's no gap at all and it's a nice firm fit. This is going to keep the wire from moving around. You want to make sure that you don't leave any of the fencing edges too close to the edge, because then you won't be able to staple them in adequately. So you want to cut out to the point just where you have enough to staple it in. So this one here, that's about as close as I would get to the edge. Then you hammer it. The wood is soft enough that it actually presses the metal to recess into the wood, which is really good because it keeps it very secure in place. You'll notice here where I joined the wires, some holes are bigger than others. And actually this is fine because when we're putting this over top of the garden bed, when the plants are shooting up, or if we're putting in plants that already have some growth on them, then they won't be able to fit through the mesh. So again, this is where our cutting pliers are going to come in, because we can cut out sections just large enough for the plants, such as a tomato, to shoot through, but not big enough for, let's say, a squirrel or a small animal to be able to get through the mesh. So after all that effort, finally I was able to get all the mesh properly done, and now we're going to put it in place. So this is just going to slide on over top. And there we go. So I just positioned right over top. The metal corner braces pretty much like slack into each other. And now I have this space in here, about 3 inches. It'll be less by the time I fill this up with more soil. My tomato plants and flowers will be able to grow through this mesh, and I'll open up holes wherever I need to. So there you go. This is a really good, efficient way that'll last a long time to keep critters, rodents, the ever dreadful squirrel away from your crops.